All right, how's it going, everyone? My name's Sirgoku1, or you can call me Spence. That's kind of like my name is Spencer, so people just call me Spence, whichever one you're comfortable with. Yeah, we're gonna be running some Team Rose LTS in Sonic Heroes. So, quick rundown of Sonic Heroes. There's 4 different teams. Team Rose is like the beginner category. It's like supposed to be the easiest when you play the game casually. And so because of that, it's actually one of the shorter categories when we speedrun. But a lot of people run it because it's like the intro category. So it can be pretty optimized. So we're going to do some cool strats here.
Hi, I'm Neil. So runner for this game. Got a top time that. I'm just here to help my little buddy Spence commentate.
Hello, I'm Joey Freefall. I've been running Heroes for about 9 years, and I am Spence's roommate. I'm actually in just the next room over, so...
That is true, yeah.
I am going to be helping with commentary as well.
Yeah, I think with that, I think we're ready to get started. So I can count us down here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
This is actually a recent development. We used to play the game in English for the longest time, and because of this first level right here, we figured out the Japanese stage exactly like 2 seconds, because this is the only stage in the game with text boxes that need to be mashed through. You can mash as quickly as you possibly can to get through them. There's no like limit to how fast you can get through it. So it's optimal to have fewer text boxes on Japanese. Seagate here is the only level that is specific to Team Rose. As Spence was mentioning, Team Rose is kind of intended to be a beginner category, not even just in terms of the speedrun, but also in terms of a casual playthrough. This is kind of teaching you how to play the game, and that's why there are text boxes in the first place that are like teaching you stuff.
The goal is really, you're just trying to go as fast as possible. There aren't any like super advanced techniques. It's more just like very tiny movement optimizations to kind of get through the level. As Joey just said, skipping some of those boxes by like hopping on top of them, for example.
Yep, and now we're on to Seaside Hill. There's a big piece of movement tech that Spence mentioned in the interview, using the hammer to cross large gaps. Basically, every speed character in the game has a move tied to the B button that kind of, if used when launching off of a ledge, will suspend you in midair and also let you keep your jump out of it. You're going to be seeing that a lot.
Yeah, one interesting thing about ground accels is sometimes they don't activate like when we expect them to. And so we don't fully understand every reason why that happens. It sometimes just won't go. You just like stand still. And so it can be kind of funny, like having to adapt to missing a ground accel in like an awkward spot. Ocean Palace is kind of where, it starts separating in terms of tech skill, like breaking the doors. If one of you wants to explain kind of how that works.
Mm-hmm. So the doors in Ocean Palace take 2 hits from the power character to break, and you can actually get very technical in the way that you break them. Spence is going to be opting to use belly flops to do it because they also can double as ground accels. So basically he's going to hit the door once with a belly flop and then again to ground accel through it, yeah. Which is a pretty good way to get through it.
Oh man. Missed the speed pad.
Nice little backup there. So yeah, you meant to do the hammer float trick I was talking about across that big gap, but he's able to take the lower route and actually homing attack backwards because there's a speed ramp up there.
I guess another thing that people are probably curious about right now is the pausing. If you'll notice, there's different times in the run where I'll just randomly pause for like a moment. And if you guys want to explain kind of what the mechanics behind that are.
There's actions that happen whenever the B button is released for speed characters. That hammer, if it's done on the ground, is really slow. It grinds Amy to a halt. So, but rolling is the fastest, like it carries the most momentum, and you want to do that through speed pads and loops. So what we do is actually pause during a roll and let go of the B button during the pause menu, and what that does is that the B action never actually comes out, but you keep the roll state, and then we just combo that together through pauses just to keep a roll state so that we always rolling through loops, and that just helps to keep our speed up.
I don't think I'm gonna get this in time.
This will be close. Yeah, not quite. I think. Oh, wow.
No, I did get it.
Oh, wow, really?
That did not look like it was gonna work.
So at the beginning of that level, the ground excel technique that we were talking about, you need to do 2 right at the beginning of this level, and it's kind of infamous for getting where the ground excel just doesn't occur. And unfortunately with Egghawk, usually if you miss the ground excel, you don't have enough time to like make them just kind of stop in the middle there while you're invincible.
Yep.
And it's just like, you just lose time. It's an annoying thing. Sometimes you can get away with it if you get a rocket excel after a missed ground excel, but I didn't even get that, and it still worked, so that's why we were all shocked there that actually worked out. But right now we're doing Grand Metro. This is one of the longer stages in the category. There's different tricky things about it. We'll see if I can hit some of them here.
Nice. What he just did there was another one of those hammer float things, but he also, in combination with that, clipped through the laser gate that kind of like blocks off. So normally you're supposed to kill the robot in the door next to you and it'll spawn a bridge, but you can clip through the little wall and float across the gap if you're really precise about it, so that was good. And speaking of skipping bridges, we'll skip this one as well. Just fly, get a bunch of speed, fly all the way over to the back wall, and then clip underneath the bridge. That was done very well. Yeah, it's worth noting that the game takes a steep turn in difficulty at Grand Metro. It's just like, all right, it's go time now.
It really is, yeah. Like you get 3 levels of warm-up, basically. I would say Ocean Palace definitely has some harder techniques.
Ocean
but...
Palace can be tricky, yeah.
Right, but like Metro's the first, like, all right, we're in the speedrun now. It's time to like hit a bunch of different things. I think these are the first rails, right?
Yep, these are the first rails in the run, so you're noticing some character switches happening on the rails. We're trying to get to top speed basically as quickly as we can.
But now we're on to Casino Park, so this is a pretty interesting level in terms of dealing with the different pinballs and everything.
The way the game behaves becomes very strange in these levels. Ooh, are we getting in there?
Alright, we're in there, we're in there.
Okay, cool. The only really important thing to know about pinball tables is that character switching changes. Instead of the character that you want to play as spawning. Oh god. Okay,
we're in there. It's a little scuffed, but we're in there.
Alright. Instead of the character we're switching to coming to where we are, we actually go to wherever they are. And that becomes very useful in this skip right here. So Spence is getting a bunch of distance here. He's aiming at the top of the pinball table. That looks good. Amy and Big are flying over the pinball table and conveniently land right where the goal ring is.
Alright, Bingo Highway loads in really quick here. This is another tricky stage.
The same rule applies, where if we switch to a character, we're going to spawn near them. More often than not, it's going to send us backwards in the stage rather than forwards. So you have to be very mindful in Bingo Highway of where your characters are. And even if you want to switch to them for whatever reason, sometimes you have to have the discipline to not do it because you know that they're behind you on a slide somewhere and you don't want to go backwards in the stage. I think we are going to see an attempt at this skip coming up. So basically, we switched to Cream because she has the best like aerial momentum, or aerial drift, I guess. Oh, yes! Okay, we got it. Nice. Nicely done.
Yeah, so that skips this whole area and basically follows us right by the goal ring.
That one's pretty self-explanatory. I will say though, like a lot of the time you'll just run into the wall and not go anywhere, and then like your chance of getting the skip is just over right away.
Alright, so this is Rail Canyon. As I mentioned in the interview, there's going to be 2 things I'm going to go for, DSS Glide and Balls Glide.
The glide in this game carries a lot of momentum, and so whenever there's like very high speed sections and we're able to very quickly switch to Big and then pull out the umbrella, we're going to like carry a lot of that speed and potentially cross huge sections. And one stage that exemplifies that really well is Rail Canyon here, as Spence mentioned.
That's why we grabbed the checkpoint.
True. And there are big gaps you can cross.
Oh, no,
that was an attempt at what I was talking about, where he kind of takes off with the umbrella and goes really fast.
Alright, one more attempt for the fans on it. There we go.
There we
That's
go.
what it looks like.
Look at that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Alright.
So, normally the umbrella isn't that fast, but because of that invisible wall I mentioned, for whatever reason, if you're bumping against the wall during a glide, it won't like decrease your speed as fast. Like you maintain some of that initial speed for longer when you bump on walls. That one's cool because you're doing the glide as the rail starts to curve upward, so the glide that you actually get off of it sends you into the air really high up, and it skips that hole that he had to tornado and take up. That one saves a little. I think Balls Glide saves more than DSS, right?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah.
Because Balls Glide skipping the little tower with the pole. And I think that's like, I don't know how many seconds that is. Maybe like 6. It's like a long time.
Yeah.
So Bolt Station has these like big cannon things that we're trying to get to, and they're on 3.3 second cycles. The fastest one that we can humanly make at this point is 24 cycle, but that is really hard. A lot of things have to go right, so Spence is going for 27 cycle, which this should be very well on pace for. Surely. Yeah, entering this door, this is the cannon that we're talking about.
It's gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight.
Yeah,
Alright, we got it.
Yeah, you're fine.
Let's go.
So yeah, that was the cannon that we were talking about. Spence kind of tried to manipulate it so that all the teammates went in at the same time, because if you don't swap to flight first and swap back to speed before you enter, that it's kind of just complete RNG at that point, whether your teammates want to get into the cannon.
Alright, don't clip through the floor challenge. Let's go.
Pass.
If you ever start speedrunning this game, you will probably have a moment where you're in that little train he was just in, and then you run forward and you fall through the floor, and you think it's the first time it's happened to anybody,
right.
When in actuality it's happened to literally everybody.
Alright, Ag Albatross, this one can be a little bit tricky. Joey and I have talked about this a decent amount, and like the beginning cycle, so there's like 3 different phases of this boss. You really want to get it clean. It kind of like determines the rest of the fight. I might be a little too far, maybe? Nope, we got it.
Okay. So the reason that phase 1 is so important is because now he knows phase 2 is going to be on the right here, and he knows that he can finish him off as he goes to the left. It's just very, like, scripted out, I guess,
yeah.
When you do phase 1. If you don't kill phase 1 right away, which is pretty tricky to do, to be honest, then his positioning horizontally is going to kind of be not what you're used to, for sure, and it's going to slow things down. The Frog Forest is one of the tougher stages in the run. There are a lot of pits to fall into. We're kind of suspended in air, like, throughout the entire stage, so you have to be careful. We also do a lot of like shortcuts in the stage that involve like proper camera movement. The camera tries to fight you, but you wouldn't know it watching a run just because we're kind of expecting it to do certain things and then counteracting it. Alright, we're coming up on Spence Strat here.
Strat I created, everyone. Let's go.
There it is.
When do you want to explain quickly what that is?
We're using a mid-air hammer float to cross that big gap like you saw. The reason it's Spence Strat is because we used to do it over on the platform on the left with the flower. We'd do the same idea. We would like rock, excel, hammer, twirl, and then make our way over to the vine. But Spence was like, why don't we just do it from over here? It's closer. It's like, yeah, it is closer. It saves like a second or two.
Yeah, and the reason behind like why I thought that was because the traditional strat that Joey is mentioning, I really struggled with because at the time I was still pretty new, and I couldn't like hit it consistently. And I'm just like, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. And then I'm like, wait, why don't we just do it from here and do a simpler like strategy where you don't need a double rocket excel?
All right, here's bonus climb, not known by any other name.
Nope, it's the only name. Okay, we got it. Let's go.
So you can kind of use the vine to land on that tree, and then fly up it and kind of reset your flight on certain spots. Oh god. Wait, there's springs behind you. No.
Springs.
Unfortunate. Try and hit the zip. Oh,
Ooh, really close. Yeah, so one thing you can do that I'm sure we'll see later, you can fly up to a ledge with cream, and if your height is right, where like you're just barely able to make it onto the platform that you're next to with a thunder shoot, you will what we call zip or thunder boost forward. It goes by kind of both names. You get a ton of speed if you have the right height flying up to a ledge.
So, as Joey was kind of just saying, those can be really dependent on height, and sometimes they don't want to cooperate. But yeah, so this is the next team fight. that I was talking about earlier, how we have some kind of meme team fights. So with this one, we actually discovered that not touching the controller is a very optimal strategy. So I have my controller on camera here. We literally just don't do anything, and it looks like they're gonna die, and then we get a 1073, and you win the fight. So if you ever play this game casually, and you're playing Team Rose, and you get to the Team Chaotix fight, just set the controller down, and you'll be able to continue on your way.
This level tends to be a favorite amongst like viewers because it's just so fast. The first thing we do is a roll clip through this door. That was done perfectly. And then we do a slope jump. There's the zip. It can go even faster than that, but that was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
And we jump off to the right here. There's going to be an orb. Yeah, this level's super duper fast. We get up to this rail, and not shortly after, we're going to jump again. There's no kill planes down here, thankfully, and the goal ring is right down there.
Yeah, so like literally it's under a minute. If you're really fast, you can get it under like 40 seconds. I think that was a 43, so it's pretty solid pace. You know, it looked really simple, but there's obviously a lot of things there that can go wrong. The first one being clipping through that door can be definitely a struggle, so I'm happy to have hit that. Yeah, we're loading a Mystic Mansion here. This is also kind of a sprint stage.
So one thing we're going to do here is we're going to walk up to this cage with the orb in it. We're going to switch to big, and we're going to shoot our characters and kill a robot that's actually behind the door. And because we're so close to the orb when we do that, we just instantly teleport with it as soon as we kill the guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Try this again. There we go.
There we go.
There's randomly just a hole in the wall there. One thing that's interesting is there's like beta copies of this game that are available online, right? Like versions before the final version. And in those versions, there's no hole in the wall. But something within the last month of production made it so there's just a hole in the wall there that we utilize in the run.
Let's go.
I jumped a little early, but we got through the door. That's the important part.
Alright, spooky boost. Here's another zip, potentially.
Nice.
There we go.
Nice.
That was clean.
Yeah. Robot Storm time, so I'm going to be doing the Team Blast glitch.
We want to get Team Blast right away. In Robot Carnival, we had a balloon that gave us Team Blast, so it's really easy to just use it. We're not so lucky on Robot Storm, so we need to build up meter really quickly, and one way we're going to do that is through Team Blast glitching. So what Spence is going to do is he's going to switch to Cream, and then Thundershoot and switch characters on the same frame multiple times over. So, see it? There's 1, 2, and you see the meter in the top right just fill up like immediately. 10 seconds is very good.
Yeah, that was a solid
Essentially,
one.
the reason we want Team Blast is because it gives all of our characters a level up right away. In the case of Robot Storm, level 1 Big is very useful because he has that fishing rod move where he spins around and does a ton of damage.
Yeah, Team Blast is one of those things too. I think early on when people are learning the category, it's pretty intimidating because it can be hard to hit those, you know, to try and hit those things like back to back to back. But I think once you kind of get comfortable with it, it's not too terrible. All right, so we're kind of coming up on the last stages here. Egg Fleet is a very difficult one. I'd say this is a very variable stage, and there's going to be some interesting tricks along the way. I'm going to lock in here.
He's going to hit the back of this spring to catch the wind current a little earlier. Make his way up here and do a ground excel and switch to Cream to skip this gap. He's going to land on this really skinny fence that you have to be lined up really well for. Oh yeah. And glide to skip that ramp. So now we're going to come up on probably the biggest skip in all of LTS. This is the Egg Fleet Warp. So normally you're supposed to do an auto-scroller that takes about 40 seconds, where you're just like riding on this propeller thing. I think
This is going to be
this
close.
going to be close enough. He's trying to get out of bounds right now.
We got it.
Oh my god.
Oh, that was...
Yeah, so now he's out of bounds. He's going to fly off to the left here and hit an invisible trigger in the air that tells the game to load the next airship that's there for whatever reason. We think it's supposed to be a debug tool that they just accidentally left in the game.
Oh.
Normally
Activated flight there.
you want to take the 2 rails and then land up on the top of like the building thing and then do a mid-air hammer down to this checkpoint. And we're gonna land on this big rail here and hopefully get belly flop into cream. There we go. Lots of speed to fly over to this platform here. Pretty tricky. Big glide off of this rail. We jump over the spring on the end of the rail because it's slow. We fly all the way over. And we have one more loop skip. Let's see if we get it. That saves about 4 seconds. Nice.
Nice. That was clean, right in the middle. And we've learned a lot of things about it kind of recently, too.
That is true, yeah.
Right, before we used to just think you can go as fast as possible and hit the loop, but there's actually kind of like a speed limit you have to abide by, or it's a lot less consistent. Alright, so we're on to the final boss, Egg Emperor.
Normally the game expects you to like chase down Emperor and like go to an arena and do this big fight thing. Takes forever, but one thing that they do during this level is drop down a lot of team level ups, and what you're actually able to do is get up to level 2 cream, which is when Thunderstoots start to do damage. And what you can do with that is actually get Emperor to charge into you, and when you get hit, Thunder shoot your teammates onto him, onto his belly, which is where the actual damage starts to happen, and actually end the boss fight in like 20 seconds. So hopefully Spence is able to get it here. Clean start off. And this is where you grab the second level up. That's in that balloon there.
Nice. Alright, we're coming up on time, actually.
Yep, and time.
Time.
Nice.
That was clean.
Not bad. Yeah, so that was a lot. That's kind of why we had you explain that before. You know, it's a very quick fight. Essentially, you one cycle Egg Emperor, and I think the fastest you can do it... Well, I don't know what the fastest you guys have seen.
Generally, I've seen like 17s.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think a 17. Generally, we shoot for like 18 to 20. Like, usually that range means you one-cycled Egg Emperor. It's cool, and like I said, you know, Team Rose being the, like, beginner category gives it the most interest, and I think that's kind of helped push the meta to some degree, right? You just have more people running it, contributing to finding skips. And I'd say, I mean, it's cool because, like, you never know who ends up finding something. Like, you know, the Spence strat is something that I kind of found when I was still really new to the game. And I think of, like, you know, Vintage doing the Mystic Mansion stuff. Like, it's kind of cool, just like everyone in the community kind of contributes to find. Shoutouts to the Heroes community. You know, everyone's really cool. Shoutouts to Wagers for putting on this event and kind of getting to showcase all the Sonic games. And yeah, if it happens again, we'll try and, you know, hopefully have a different category or run of Sonic Heroes to show some of the other cool things that exist in this game.
All right, thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate it.